Namaste and good evening to all. I am Rakesh Kalia and I welcome all distinguished school leaders to the next episode of our webinar for the week titled as Is Blended Learning Only Way Out in Post-COVID Schools? Viewers, I am delighted to introduce you the school ecosystem's best minds who are widely acknowledged as educators and education administrators. Our worthy panelists in today's webinar are Shri Anit Arora, Principal, Cambridge International School, Dasua, Madam Nirmal Mahana, Principal, DPS Kathua, and Madam Bindu Sharma, Principal, Genius International School, Ropar. Undoubtedly, COVID-19 pandemic has forced schools to change, but the most intriguing question on progressive leaders' minds is whether any of those changes will be enduring and transformative, enabling schools to take a leap forward towards more equitable and student-centered systems. Our school leaders are weighing various options on a platter to find the sustainability of the solutions introduced during these pandemic times. And one of these host of solutions is blended learning, which is catching everyone's eyes. So friends, let's see how our worthy panelists respond to this blazing issue. My first question is for Anit sir. Anit sir, what is your understanding of the blended mode of learning? I request all panelists to respond to the same question after Anit sir. So Anit sir, please.
Thank you very much, sir, and a very good evening to one and all present here. And believe me, when this COVID started in the month of March, it had certain difficult, challenging times also, but along with that, we got quite a lot of opportunities also. Now, to begin with, see, technology and education, it was always racing against each other. Like when the education started, it was only education and technology was not there in that. But down the line in 2019, what exactly happened in the education domain, that we took a back seat and the technology was far ahead. Like it was moving at a very fast pace and we were quite reserved and we were not ready to accept that all these technical skills can bring quite a lot of change into a system. So it was a blessing in disguise. But I personally feel that it brought every teacher at the same platform. Whether you are into a big school, whether you are into a small school, whether you are a government teacher, whether you are a private teacher, everyone had some basic computer, mobile, basic internet connectivity. So the whole world was very equal at that time. Nobody was ready for it. Nobody had any prior training of it. So it was all the same. The school infrastructure, what all building school had, what all resources school had, it was all left behind. So it was teacher, basic device, basic internet, which was more or less common with everyone around. So now it was the time to move on. It was the time to unlearn and to accept the change. So the schools and the teachers, those who accepted this change, are today doing well. They are accepted by the society, they are accepted by the students, and the schools are facing less trouble now. But the teachers, those who thought that, okay, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to unlearn and relearn, they'll have problems throughout. Even post-COVID also will create quite a lot of issues with them. So it gives an opportunity to actually find out what all potential we had. And believe me, I'm leading a school with huge magnitude, with 4,000 plus students and with 800, with around 800 team members, out of them around 200 plus teachers. So some of them are old, some of them are young, some of them are old. Though I personally believe that teachers are always young, they stay young forever because the kind of energy they get with all the kids around. So they are always young. So I'm very blessed to have a team which responded on time, and we were able to start this blended learning right from the first week of April. In fact, 3rd or 4th of April, Before that, we did all the trainings and we were bang on, spot on, and we started all the things. I got an advantage into this because I'm a computer science engineering graduate. So it was a love marriage to this profession. I came into this profession by choice. So it was not by chance I got into this profession. So each day was a day of learning, and being from a technical background, it really helped me out. So now coming to your question, see, blended learning. See, if you just Google blended learning on YouTube, you will find out that people were talking about this 6 years back, 7 years back. There were quite a lot of TEDx talk based on blended learning, which happened 6 years back, 7 years back, 8 years back. Everyone wanted us to change. Everybody wanted the school education to change because nobody was quite convinced that one size fits all kind of a concept. So it was all the instructor based or a teacher based learning. It was never the student based learning, that how the student wanted to learn. Now with this blended learning, we have got all the possibility. So now what exactly is blended learning? It is a blend of classroom teaching and online teaching. How intelligently you can blend that, how delicately you can create the balance. Because the current COVID situation, there would be an on off thing which would be happening maybe for another 2 3 years. So we are not very much sure that how much time it would take. So now blended learning is the right approach to move forward. We can have flipped classroom. There can be quite a lot of different things which can exactly happen. So try to understand that nobody knows how many jobs would be there within next 5 years, within next 10 years, because the world is changing at a very, very fast pace. And most of the things with artificial intelligence coming into picture, most of the things would be automated. So many jobs which require human intervention will not be there because of they'll write small algorithm, they'll use artificial intelligence, and those jobs will not exist. So it is very important for all the educators to understand that if we need to survive for next 5 years, next 10 years, we need to reinvent the education into the school. It's not about blended learning. It's giving the experience to the child, whether you are in school, whether you are off school, the learning cannot stop. So I personally believe, though I'll be discussing more in the future once I'll get an opportunity after this. So I personally believe that this blended learning has given us flexibility. It has given us quite a lot of freedom, and it has given it is fear free also. So the three things which were into our education, like the whole education system was fear-based system, like it was a fear-driven system. Like when we turn around or we rewind our life 20, 30, 40 years back, so it was fear which was driving the education. We never studied because we wanted to study something. We studied because of the fear of parents, fear of not getting some success in life, fear of not getting jobs. So it was not the purpose of life. It was not the education which was actually motivating us to do something, because our teachers, our school had a concept that one size would fit all, same question paper for all the students, same learning for all the students. So it was never personalized. So blended learning has removed that fear. It has given us flexibility. It has given us freedom. So 3F, I would say. These 3F would be the future of education. And thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. And maybe I'll discuss more after this. Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you very
welcome,
much.
sir. Great reply, sir. So, Mahana ma'am, your take on this.
Mr. Kalia, thank you so much, and the team DE giving me this opportunity. And as Sir said, I think he has explained everything, every aspect of understanding of blended mode of learning. I'll just I'll add two more points in that, because I don't want to repeat the same, points again and again. One thing is with this blended mode of learning, uh, the important thing is now the knowledge is going beyond the books. Initially, it was, the learning was confined within the four walls of the classrooms. With this blended learning, online and offline, both with the traditional way of learning and then online learning, it has the education and the knowledge has gone beyond the band, and it's really helping the children. And because of this, more exposure to the world now these children are having, and which is really enhancing their capability, I must say, and exploring new world. That is a challenge. And I'm very happy, like I'm principal, I'm heading the school in a very remote area. As you are aware that Kathua, constant firing is there from across the border. The children coming from that belt sometimes becomes a problem, and JNK with 2G is having a tremendous pressure on my teachers. But nonetheless, we are helping our children the way we can, and the parents are now aware. The most important thing is Sir has already spoken about the teachers, because if the teachers, those who were not very clued up, like I, myself from a literature background, I was not very technical sound. I was not a techno savvy, but because I learned everything, and so my teachers helped me, and the teachers are helping each other. So that, this thing, that the one thing which has brought together the entire world is that it's a one world now, in actual words. It's not that there was a song that's it's a one world, but now it's actually the entire universe has become one. Virtually you are interconnected with each other, and the job opportunities, or exploring the knowledge, and it's really helping our children. So this is what is blended learning, when offline and online, both ways, the children are getting the knowledge. And offline we are not able to do it because right now, as the restriction from the government is there. But I'm sure once it will start, it's going to be a beautiful combo of both. That is my take. And the children from that kind of background, rural background, from border area, when they are getting this opportunity to explore the technology, that is very important, especially that it is. Otherwise in city, lot many things are there. But for my children, the coming from that kind of background, now even class nursery child is able to handle the mobile, and he's able to handle the internet, and they know from the small little age also that how to handle technology, and which is going to be very fruitful in the coming future.
Correct.
Yeah.
Great remarks. So, Bindu ma'am, your take on.
Awesome evening to everyone, and thank you, Rakesh sir, for giving me an opportunity to be a part of such a prestigious panel. And I think sir and ma'am, they've already set the stage for what blended learning, how the need, everything began with the COVID coming in. But what I would like to say is, it's as we have already talked about, it's a mixture of e-learning and traditional learning. So if we talk about, so if traditional learning and e-learning I talk about, that means it gets the benefit of both the worlds. When we are talking about traditional, we know that it was a one-to-one connect, teacher and taught together, studying and teaching. And when it comes for e-learning, they have their own benefits. So I can say it's a form of hybrid, learning, where all the institutions are moving. And I think COVID has played a big role, because now with the technology, we have gone very far. If we talk about before COVID, we were more confined to the classrooms where the teachers were teaching, and it was a classroom scenario. And it was a completely traditional setup in most of the schools. But now with the technology coming in and with post COVID, I think it would be a mix of online learning as well as face to face learning, and that's the reason maybe we say that blended learning can also be termed as a hybrid learning, because it gives the benefit of both the mode of learning. And for me, I look at the teachers. For teachers, it's going to be quite beneficial, right? Why? Because it is going to be a method to infuse new engagement. As you know, sir has right now talked about flipped classroom. Now, when post COVID the school reopens, we are going to look into differentiation of the students. We are going to have something given online so that they can just go, wherever they are. They can have free access to the videos that can be floated by the teachers. When we talk about the flipped classroom, the class goes home and the home work that is done in the classroom. So it is the perfect example that I feel is that is of blended learning that we have come across in the few years. And along with that, when I talk about the students, I think students will they will become more engaged, as well as they'll be highly motivated. Because when we talk about our students, when we are talking about child centric education, so there's a very common saying that if we need to teach the child, we need to know the child, right? We need to know the needs of the child. And I think when we are talking about different learning styles, we are talking about a learner who's an auditory learner sitting in a class. There's a visual learner in the class. That means somewhere this approach that started as I would not say by choice, that is the online teaching, but somewhere now the blended learning will become a necessity. Now, because after going 10 months ahead with online teaching in a big way, we cannot expect going back, again to classroom teaching. So this is a perfect way now teaching is, or the education world is going to see a wholesome revolutionized, I would say, rather. And then I believe now we all educators will have to see some way where we can look into how we can blend our courses, whatever we are teaching in the classroom, and what modes of delivery also. So it has a varied modes of delivery. It caters to the need of the students who are sitting in our classroom. And that's a heterogeneous group, I would say. I think both the panelists will agree with me. When we are talking about blended learning, somewhere we are talking about e-learning also, traditional learning, or the face-to-face learning and the online learning. So this blended mode of learning, I think it has it is going to go long way. And as sir has rightly said, one size cannot fit all. So somewhere it has gone with the I would say the concept of 21st century learners, because we are catering to the 21st century learners. So we'll have to see that how we equip them so that they become, very globally competent enough to face the challenges, as sir talked about, that we have to prepare the students for the jobs that are yet to be, somewhere they are yet to come in the scene. No one knew about, how COVID would bring about a lot of change. The industries, the tourism, everything has undergone a radical, drastic change. And I think for this, blended learning is going to be a good answer to all this. It would be a solution to all our problems in the coming years also, right? So this is what I feel regarding blended learning.
Great, ma'am. So, as Anit sir rightly said, pandemic it's a blessing in disguise for sure. So we have all learned new things, and blended learning is certainly, as you said, ma'am, that it is a method to infuse new systems of engagement with the school, with the students. Just to add into that, there are different forms of blended learning. Apart from flipped class model, there are flex models, there are a la carte models, there are station rotation models. So there are different forms. We'll have to see which model fits your school system the best. So we'll have to find that right mix of online and offline, interventions. So friends, see, school teacher is the most important stakeholder in a school ecosystem. Entire academic system of a school hinges on an efficient teacher. And in the post-COVID era, our school teachers must reskill themselves in order to stay relevant, right? So my next question is for Anit sir. Sir, what is the role of a school teacher in a blended learning setup?
Thank you, sir, for giving this opportunity again. And I was listening to Nirmal madam and Bindu madam. And Nirmal madam very rightly said that we have to go beyond classroom.
Correct.
Now, information when we were in school was only available with teachers or with library. But today the information is flowing everywhere with 4G, now even 5G coming into picture. Everyone has got access to all information. And Bindu madam rightly said that beyond classroom. Like, I personally believe that most of the learning takes place outside the classroom. Very few learning would actually happen inside the classroom. The maximum of learning is outside the classroom. But she said child-centric, but I really doubt this because 99% of our school are either parent-centric or promoter-centric.
True,
But we need to
absolutely.
be student-centric.
But majority of the decisions which we all heads have to make is to understand that what the parents would require from us and what the promoter is actually asking us. So we run with a mixed blend of promoter, parent, and student. So it is a mixed blend of learning which all heads are doing today. So as sir, you have asked what would be the role of the teachers? I believe that until unless Apple, Samsung, or LG would come up with some branded teachers, so I can buy an Apple teacher and open it in the classroom. That okay, you have got an Apple chemistry teacher and you have got a Samsung physics teacher. Until unless this is going to happen, I think teachers are the most important resource in the classroom, and they'll always be the most important resource. So believe me, it is not going to happen, and we cannot replace teachers at any point of time. We can have all artificial intelligence, but the human connect, the value system, and the kind of bonding which is there, the kind of motivation which the teachers would always give. So teachers cannot be replaced. The schools cannot be replaced. Though we'll have some students switching to online mode, there would be some different things which would happen post-COVID. But believe me, students and school and especially the teachers are always going to stay. Now we need to understand that this post-COVID situation has reduced the distance. Like there is no distance barrier today. Now, probably I have heard about these two schools, but I am meeting their heads today. Thank you, COVID, that we are able to see each other face to face. Otherwise, it would have not happened. Now, I believe that within next 2 years or within next 1 year, you will have a situation that a teacher in Daswa is teaching students in Canada or US, or maybe some teacher in US would be teaching students sitting in Kathua or maybe any remote place in the country. And this is going to happen. So the distance would not be an issue anymore. Now, teachers have to work on their skills, but what the schools have to do in that, every school has to develop a learning management system. Now, without a learning management system, it will be difficult to run a school, because that learning management system should be with full of videos, which full of flip charts, with full of algorithms, database, where the students can access any time. Maybe they are an early riser, they want to study late in the evening, or they want to revisit a particular topic again and again, because the computer can explain them that topic 100 times, 200 times. So the first thing that every school has to do is to make a very strong learning management system. They can have some different videos, some videos made by the teachers, maybe some of the free videos which are available online. So a blend of these two things is very, very important for them. Then we need to have an exact replica of classroom in blended learning, because the child should not feel that I'm not a part of a classroom. Now, this online learning will only function once we bring more technology into this. maybe some 3D modeling, maybe some artificial intelligence, so that if the child is sitting back home also, they can have a real feel of the classroom. Allow them to talk. So what we have done in our school, we give them 5 minutes to talk to their friends, because until you give them those 2, 3, 4 minutes to talk to their friends and give them some personal space, they'll not feel that they are in the real classroom. So we need to have a flipped classroom, as Madam very rightly said. Bindu Madam very rightly said that we can give them, teachers can give them some videos back home, and then maybe some question answers, maybe some project can be done in the school, in the classroom, where exact doubts and maybe one-to-one discussion can happen. Then teachers have to actually work on some interactive tools. There are some beautiful interactive tools. If you've heard about Kahoot, then Peer Deck, then Google Jamboard. So these are wonderful tools where you can actually bring quite a lot of discussion in the classroom. So I think we always talked about project-based thing, and we thought, okay, like how we'll manage student, how we'll have a breakout rooms, and how we'll give different students different opportunities to collaborate, because the whole class was difficult to manage. But now we can have smaller groups of the students. We can give them breakout rooms where they can discuss on a project, they can work on a project. So actual project-based learning can happen now. And now the teachers have to work on their lesson design. And we also need to understand that what would be the right formula or the right method of making a blended lesson design or a lesson plan. Because we all are into this system for more than 3 decades now. So we know that how exactly a lesson has to be designed for a classroom program. But for a blended program, it has to be entirely a different lesson. And then going one step forward, I would feel that different examinations for different teachers, for different students. Now, till date, what we used to do, one question paper fits all. One question paper is for all the students, and they never had choices. Now, in fact, if you take my call, and if we actually want that it should be child-centric education, then every child should get an opportunity to have a different question paper based on their level. Maybe they are into grade 6. If they have not understood any concept of grade 5, they can study that and appear in that particular assessment again to understand that concept better. So if I have 40 students in the class or 35 students in the class, I should give them flexibility of taking different levels of question paper. It can be easy, it can be hard, it can be at different levels. So this flexibility has to be given. Then the real blended learning would take place. So teachers have to understand that they would actually be facilitators to the students. They will not be actually the masters of the classroom. Students would be the masters of the classroom. They'll be guiding what next. They'll be guiding what they want and how the classroom has to proceed. Because it has to truly shift from the instructor-based system to a student or a learning-based system, like it happens in PYP or MYP or IBDP. In PYP, it's a beautiful curriculum. There is, in fact, no syllabus for it. The inquiry of the students would actually decide what they want to learn. And believe me, if we want to produce students with high skills, and we want that they should be successful in life, not rather than getting degrees, we need to give them this flexibility. Let them enjoy studying. Let them discover their passion, and let them identify what they are good at. And this can only happen if teachers support them. They are more open-minded. They are more flexible. They are allowing students to identify what all passion they are blessed with. And it can only happen with quite a lot of orientation, quite a lot of support, quite a lot of pep talk, because majority of our teachers are not by choice. They are by chance. Like, they have not taken up this profession by choice. So I think we all heads need to do quite a lot of pep talk, quite a lot of trainings, quite a lot of digital support, and we need to ensure that they all are at the same platform. Otherwise, running a school would be a big challenge after 1 or 2 years, because there are good enough chances that many multinationals would come up with their e-schools. Now we have heard only of one, two, three, but there would be hundreds of them within next 1 year or 2 years. So then we'll not have a competition with the school which is into a physical distance of 10, 15, 20, 30 kilometers. We'll face the competition throughout the globe. Maybe tomorrow some student would say, okay, I would like to study in this particular school, and this school is running from New York, this school is from Canada, and I'll directly take education from that school. So there is a possibility of that. So I believe that quite a lot of collaboration, quite a lot of unlearning must happen, and we all leaders have to play a very important role in transforming the mindset of all the educators. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir. Great reply, Anit sir. You rightly said we need to give student agency a chance. Basically, students taking up an onus to to their own learning. So the role of a teacher again has to shift from sage on the stage to guide by the side.
Guide by the side.
This is very important in the
Very
changing
right.
times. So, well, viewers, blended learning is an effective innovation that has long shown potential to enable schools to help every student succeed, and is especially relevant as schools grapple with complete or partial closures during these COVID times. Effective pedagogy embedded in novel blended learning solutions can be a game changer in increasing student learning outcomes, right? So, Nirmal ma'am, which pedagogical changes in education are needed to mainstream blended learning in post-COVID schools?
Yeah, this sir just now told that the main education, main system is depend on the teachers, and as you are aware that the majority of our teachers are very limited and with no exposure of imparting knowledge through means other than tutoring. Now the tutoring is going to be substituted by the online classes, and expecting these untrained teachers, educators to substitute the teacher with the role of coach, we have to we have to work on this, because we have to transform these the strategy, just teaching and tutoring to the children to how to blend both the things off and online together. And so because end of the day the teacher is going to teach them, so we have to train them, number one. Unfortunately, what happens in our country is our education system is such that it's not sustainable. What happened, we do not nurture the education system unless we implement based on the innovative pedagogical changes, and we accept that now the world is changing and the India is also going to change, and so is the entire educational scenario is going to change. So number one, the first priority is we have to train our teachers, those who are going to make the difference. Secondly, I think the teachers, like sir said, that they are not by choice, they are by chance, that if you are not getting any job anywhere, so you are becoming a teacher. And we as principals also had no choice, because okay, you require a specific subject teacher, and you see that the teacher is MA or MSc and this thing, and subject may she is good, and you hire that teacher, because teaching in the class with the book, with the one-to-one interaction, it is little easy, it's not that difficult. But when you are using the artificial intelligence, when you are using the technology, then it becomes imperative that the teacher should be very, very professional in both the approaches, offline and online, both. So pedagogical changes, number one is we have to train our teachers. And secondly, when we talk about the technology, as Sir is also, he is from this background, our smart class packages, whatever the packages are developed in India, whether it's Tata classes or any smart class classes, they are selling these things based on the consumer. They are not based on the consumer. This thing, consumer, because they are not catering the needs of the students. So whatever the modules they are making, it has to be according to the requirement and the needs of the student and the knowledge base. It should not be based on the books which you are implementing in the schools. What's happening otherwise, these smart classes, they are taking books from the schools and they're making the modules based on the topics and this thing. But I think now the things have changed, and they have to be because they think that one size fits all purpose. It's not going to be, because every school is going to take a different, as Sir already said, that it's going to be flip classes, it's going to be flex classes, it's going to be self-blended learning, enhanced virtual classes, and models are going to be made. So, number two, the technology have to be upgraded as per the requirement, as per the needs of the children. And secondly, when we are talking about online classes, one of my suggestion is that when my son was there in Texas University in America, what the professors do, they make their lectures, they record their lectures, or and they send it well in advance, so that the child is able to go through, as like we were saying, we were in India, we were telling the students, okay, tomorrow we are going to study this chapter, so ghar se aap padh ke aana. But there, virtually they were sending the videos, that this is okay, go through that. Now, we also have to now work on it, because the way teacher is explaining in the lecture, if the child is studying at night at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, so if readily recorded lecture is there with the child, so he's able to see that, okay, this is the explanation, and it becomes easy for him to understand the subject. That I think has to be it's very important what I'm saying. And secondly, when we are talking about, and Sarah has already spoken about, the collaboration, it has to be collaborative. It has to, the collaboration, it's not only the collaboration between the parent or the teacher or the students, it's going to be the collaboration among the students also, because when you are telling them something to gather the information, naturally they are going to explore the media, they are going to find out, and then based on that information which they are going to gather, when they're coming offline to the school, face to face activities, creating all these things will be easy, because the child has already gathered that kind of information, and assembling and reassembling it will be easy for the child and for the teacher also. And that way, I think it will be beneficial for all these children. And when the children have already gathered this information through online, so when offline, when they are going to come to the school, the teacher is going to act not as a teacher, but as a facilitator only, which is there to guide you, and it will be helping the students to understand the concept formation, and that way they can be develop their critical thinking and all these things. So I think all these basic things which we are talking about post COVID, all these things are going to be helpful. But the only problem is, we have to think about how we are going to implement all these things, because initially it was talk and talk, but now it's going to be something different, because the books are not the only thing, as we are all are talking, that media is already there, because the children are up to the Google and YouTube and the information, and there's no dearth of gathering the information and getting the knowledge. So now assimilate all this information and gathering, and what information is basically as per the classes are required to filter, the teacher as a facilitator is going to help them. So I'm very happy, because that way they are going to be is going to be helpful in both the ways, that online they are gathering the information, and offline they are gathering the information to one. They are collecting all these details and data, and then they are bringing it to into practice and becoming a innovation as and skill. They can develop their skills also, as we are talking about. Everything is now skill based learning is there, though this skill based learning was I when I was in, I'm talking about 90s, when I attended a workshop in Delhi, VBIL, value based integrated learning. There's integrated learning after 20 years has again come back to education system. So these are the pedagogical changes, and it's not going to be rote learning now. It has to be critical thinking. The child has to think and then implement all these things. And so I think these basic changes, we as principals, we as educators have to understand first before it filters on to the children and the student. And I think the parents are very, very important part of it, because educating the parents based on these things is very important, because educated parent can understand everything, but the parent who's there in remote areas, it's difficult to teach him. So now the task is more challenging. I think so. So that is what my views are on that the same. Thank you.
Very well said, Nirmal ma'am. Thanks. So, friends, see, as we are unfolding, or you can say the industry 4.2 is unfolding very fast before us, and we need to prepare our children for the 21st century skills, which is, although a cliche word these days, but still 21st century, and schools have more responsibility to prepare their children for the future jobs, which is quite uncertain, unforeseen jobs. And we need to develop critical thinking, collaboration, communication, all these, soft skills in them. So viewers, see, blended learning, if implemented in the right spirit, has a huge potential to increase student learning outcomes. Well, this is evident from University of Spain's research in 2017 that blended learning increases outcomes in the range of 11 to 15% as compared to fully virtual or fully face-to-face teaching learning, models. So, Bindu ma'am, how blended learning can help students increase learning outcomes? Please throw some light on that.
Okay, thank you. I think you have rightly said that it enhances the learning outcome. The research and the data speaks well about it. As I told earlier also, because it gives the benefit of the traditional learning as well as, online learning. And here I would like to talk about what Sir said regarding, Alvin Toffler, learn, unlearn, and relearn. So it is one of the major things, like as educators, we need to be very open to learning. And I would rather say that gone are the days of limited approach to education. We'll have to expand our horizon. We'll have to see that what all possible ways we can, bring in, where ultimately the goal, that is increasing the learning outcome for each and every child we are accountable for. And when I talk about learning outcome, I think one thing that strikes my mind is that it is somewhere proportional to the interest of the child, because if the child is interested in teaching, and if we make teaching very interesting, and Sir was talking about the 3 F's, I would add one more element of F, that is fun. That's making it such learning. Let it be a celebration. Let it be something with that comes from inside. Every child is, self-motivated, engaged learner. And when we talk about this, eventually you'll see that learning outcome, you don't have to focus on learning outcome. We just focus on pedagogy. We focus on how the education becomes more meaningful. And you'll see the byproduct would be increased learning outcome. So I feel rather than focusing on learning outcome, we focus on pedagogy and the mode of delivery. and our purpose would be itself resolved. And for that, if you look at, I'll just take an example of what I mentioned earlier, flipped classroom. If we talk about how flipped classroom came into being, so I know every one of you must be well aware of, because there were students who were not attending the class because of being unwell or being out of the classrooms because of maybe participation in sports or some n number of reasons. And the educators like us only thought that how do we help those kids who are not physically present in the class. And there they came up with the idea of recording their lectures and sending it to the students. And this is how in 2009 altogether, the concept of flipped learning came into being. So here, if I talk about one very minute thing that we all need to understand, that the educator could understand the child whom he was accountable for, the needs of the learner. So if we look at that, because we are well aware of, every learner has different needs, they have different learning styles, and with the blended learning coming in, I think the learner gets greater flexibility. He gets greater flexibility of learning, and that too as it at his own pace. That's the best part, because you don't have all the bright students sitting in your class, as we talked about. We have a heterogeneous group we are catering to, and there we have a child who understands the concept maybe in not before the teacher speaks, because he's well versed the concept, or he's a very keen learner by himself. He doesn't need a teacher also. So here comes blended learning, when we are talking about how it is enhancing the learning outcome. And here I would like to just talk about one thing more, like taking flipped classroom as an example. If you look at the Bloom's taxonomy related to flipped classroom, if we look at the conventional classroom, or we look at the traditional approach, and you look at what was being taught in the classroom, they were the lower order thinking skills. If we look at, they were all the lower order thinking skills. If I talk about a traditional classroom, we go to the classroom, we say open up the book, we say, oh, these are the concepts, these are the topics, okay, fine. And all the difficult questions related to higher order thinking skills were given as homework, where the child didn't have access to the teacher's presence, or some kind of material where he could answer the higher order thinking skill questions. But now there is a flip. There's a flip with blended teaching coming in, or a flipped classroom coming in. Now the lower order thinking skill goes as videos to the students at home, where they get well versed with the concept, and when they come back to the class, there is a quick through quizzes, or maybe any mode the teacher can engage the child in. And after that, all the higher order thinking skills, the projects based on that, they are dealt in the classroom in the presence of the teacher. And that's what you also rightly said, not the sage on the stage, but the guide by the side. So this is an automatically, if you see, the child knows my teacher is there. At every step there is a hand holding by the teacher. We can always look into that, how the learning outcome gets increased and enhanced. And at the same time, when I talked about in my earlier answer, we all have the students have different learning styles. Now when we are talking about learning styles, we'll talk about blended learning also. Here sir talked about interactive tools. When we are talking about interactive tools, we are talking about PowerPoints, we are talking about images, we are talking about audio files, we are talking about ample resources, and all are as per the needs of our learner. As I said, we have auditory learners, we have kinesthetic learners, we have visual learners sitting in the class, and that will actually help the students reach their maximum potential. And if the maximum potential is reached, I think it is directly proportional to the learning outcome. So here we are engaging our students, we are making them interested in learning, we are making them proactive, we are making them that they have their own self assessments, right? So we are making them responsible also. At the same time, if you look at, it's ma'am has rightly said VBIL, so it's value based, it's life skills, it's 21st century learning. So we are looking at every aspect, the 21st century skills. We are looking at value based when it comes and plus we are making the child proactive and making him responsible for his own learning. And that is what I feel. And with blended, there's one more very important aspect that, the child has access to the material anytime, anywhere. It is not that he'll have to go back to a class and think of what my teacher taught in the class 4 months back, because he has the material in hand. So that will actually add on to his learning, to his better, I would say, output. And as I said, everything is going to lead to increased learning outcome, better scores, self-motivated child with good self-esteem. And I don't think so with due time we'll be having any child where we can say, okay, fine, he's a slow learner, or we say that he's a poor scorer, because everyone is going to do well. And I think that's really going to bring a great change in education. So this is I think blended learning is an perfect example, and it is a perfect way where we can make our child, every child, perform the best of his or her capability. That's what I feel.
That's great, ma'am. Great remarks. Thanks, Anit sir, Nirmal ma'am, and Bindu ma'am for all your remarkable comments in today's webinar. Viewers, it's a time of great learning for school leaders and policymakers, eager to foster positive changes in schools. The four dynamics of school management or organizational framework, like value proposition, resources, processes, and the revenue formula, can illuminate on how current events will catalyze temporary or persistent changes in schools and reinforce or transform schools' organizational models. So viewers, today's webinar has presented us a range of solutions around blended mode of learning, which can potentially transform our teaching learning system in the post-COVID schools. On that note, I again thank all the respected panelists on sparing their precious time. Thank you very much again, and good evening to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalia and the team
Thank
DE and all the panelists. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Nice
Thank you.
interacting with all of you.
Thank you. Stay
Wonderful.
blessed, stay safe, and stay happy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Same to you.